Carson Palmer joining us, his weekly pit stop here. Were you on a team that a coach got fired? I was trying to see if you were. Did you have a coach fired
No,
while you were on? No, never.
no, not during a season. Always, it happened. Well, it happened one time to Dennis Allen after the season when I was playing with the Raiders, but not during a season.
Did all your former teams make the playoffs?
They sure did.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
So Bengals, Cardinals, Raiders.
They're all in.
Yeah.
And they all could exit really quickly, unfortunately.
I was going to say, out of those three, who has the best chance to advance?
I think the Raiders are going to go to Cincy. They're tired. They played a whole football game and another quarter. They lost Filan in the middle of their defense, who's been an absolute monster in the run game. They're fatigued. They're tired. They have all this, it's a huge emotional swing to go from that win right into getting ready to prep and get on a plane and fly to the East Coast. So I just think that's a lot to deal with. That's an exhausted team playing against a really fresh team that has a ton of momentum, has been playing really, really well. Arizona, I don't know. They've looked really good. They've beaten the best in the game. They've lost to some teams you just look at and go, how did they lose that game? And I think the turning point, I said this last year, I think the turning point was last year when they went to New England and they were rocking and rolling and playing really good football. And Bill Belichick had a game plan that a lot of people have really just tried to imitate and replicate, and that is keeping Kyler Murray in the pocket. You don't go for sacks. You don't try to get him on the ground. You just keep him in the pocket. And Bill Belichick gave Kyler Murray fits. And when teams have done that to the Cardinals, they've had a lot of success. Now, in saying that, I don't know if the Rams can have that type of mentality on defense. I mean, that is certainly not the way that Aaron Donald plays. That is certainly not the way that Von Miller plays. Those guys just wreak havoc and go after the quarterback. So I don't know if that'll be their game plan, but a lot of teams have had success against Arizona when they just force Kyler to stay inside the pocket and make reads and see over people inside the pocket. So, I don't know what Arizona team shows up. I'm obviously hoping the one that won the first appearance in LA shows up, but we'll see.
The Chargers, Raiders, the strategy there at the very end, that it feels like people want to pile on Brandon Staley, the Chargers head coach, because he called a timeout. He was trying to change his defensive personnel. And there was the thought, and the Raiders admitted this after the game, that they were going to play for a tie, which would have meant both teams would have got into the postseason. I have a bigger problem with the Raiders contemplating taking a knee, and you would help a divisional opponent make the playoffs? Help me where do you stand on what happened in the final minute there of overtime?
No, you play to win, especially. I mean, I've been a part of that rivalry. That is a fantastic, amazing rivalry for both fan bases. It's so much fun to be a part of. And when you have a chance to knock your rival out, you knock them out. I was more frustrated with the entire first half. I was wanting the Chargers to win by 3, and they kept handing the ball off, and they were getting dominated up front. They did not have the offensive line to run the ball that much. They got a guy in Justin Herbert who I'd put my money on him eventually winning an NFL MVP. He's that good of a player. And they kept running the ball all the first half. Just when you got a player like Justin and you got a defensive front like the Raiders who have been really good against the run, and you've got an offensive front that isn't great in the run game, you just have a back like Eckler who can make a play here and there. There's other ways to get the ball in Eckler's hands with screens and quick passes. And I thought the most frustrating part from the coaching standpoint of the Chargers was just give the ball to Justin Herbert. Let him go. Let him take over this game and get you the playoffs. They took forever, and then finally they got to the fourth quarter and they put the game in Justin's hands, and it was out of reach, unfortunately. But he actually almost won it, as we all saw. But you got it when you got one of the better players, if not one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league, like he's been this entire season. Put it on his shoulders. Give him a chance to get your team to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that the old school NFL guard has a problem with Brandon Staley with going on fourth down, and they converted 6 of those fourth down calls. What's your thoughts on that philosophy? It feels like it's the younger coaches using analytics here.
It's an analytical thing, but it's also a momentum thing, and it's where you stack up. the Chargers don't stack up in the run game with their offensive front very well against that Raiders defensive front. So if you're going to go for it, you have all these 3rd and 1 and 2 to 3s, and you're getting stuffed and putting yourself in 4th and 3 and 4 because you're not making any hay on 3rd down and running it. It's a momentum thing. If you're not, if everything's rocking and rolling and they can't stop you, they don't have an answer, then you go for it on 4th down inside your own 30-yard line like they did there. But they were getting pushed around up front and they kept trying to run it. Again, put the ball in Justin's hands. You have a future MVP, one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. He's proven that he can make it happen. I mean, they converted 6 4th downs. Just put the ball in his hands and let him throw it or run it, but don't hand the ball off consistently like they did.
Fritzy, would you give Carson Palmer the poll question?
I can. Poll question is as follows. Who was the most disappointing NFL team this season? Browns, Colts, Ravens, Seahawks, Vikings, Saints.
I think it's the Browns. I mean, just the hype machine that started with Cleveland, all summer long, going into training camp, and then as the season progressed. It's such a good team, and there's so many quality players in that team. They just couldn't find a way to bring it together, play together, stay healthy enough. And for them not to be in the playoffs, with all the hype and all the excitement about Cleveland being back and the fan base, and they finally were deserving this great team that was starting the season, and it ended up being a dud. And unfortunately, it's happened far too many times in Cleveland.
Well, I look at that. That was preseason hype. But the Colts had 7 Pro Bowl players, and they're not in the playoffs. To me, there wasn't a lot of preseason hype, but you had results during the regular season. And I just wonder, I mean, they're stuck with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, unfortunately, he has not played very well at all. And it's a much easier division to win than the AFC North that Cleveland was playing in when you look at Indy. So obviously another big disappointment. They're stuck with Carson. He unfortunately just consistently has not made plays when he's needed to. And when they needed him to make a big play, he made a poor decision or a poor throw. And, it's you look at that defense, they can rush the passer. Leonard is a phenomenal linebacker, one of the top couple linebackers in the league. Great in the secondary, very well coached. Their running back led the league in yard. I mean, it just everything stacked up for them to have a great year. And they didn't. That's the thing too about it, is they didn't need Carson Wentz to throw for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns. They needed him to just protect the ball, get them in the right play at the right time, get the ball to their running back, and let him do his thing. And really, he needed to throw for 4,000 yards and throw for 28 or 32 touchdowns. But keep the interceptions in the single digit to maybe low tens. And that's not what happened this year in Indy.
TJ Watt's second quarter sack tied him with Michael Strahan for the single season sack record, 22.5. Why is it we have a problem with records in 17 games, but nobody had a problem when we went from 14 to 16 games and the records that were set?
I don't know. I was listening to your segment earlier, and I didn't even realize we went from 14 to 16 and don't know when we went from 14 to 16. But I'm a 16 game guy, so I'm looking at whatever record I might have. I'm going to get another game every year. That's another 300 yards and another 3 touchdowns if that quarterback plays well. So, I could care less about the 14 game guys. I'm worried about the 16 game guys now that we're at 17.
Did you ever help somebody with their incentives during a game? Like Brady helped Gronk yesterday. I'm sure some other quarterbacks helped their players, but were you aware of incentives for some of your teammates?
Oh, always. I don't remember what the incentive was, but TJ Hushmanzada in the last game of the year, I think it was for another 100-catch year. He had a 100-catch like 3 or 4 years in a row, and maybe this is the 5th year. It was the last game. And I checked a little bubble screen on a run play and we lost like 7 yards on the play too. And the coach was pissed, but he got his 100 catches for the 4th or 5th year in the row, whatever it was. But absolutely. I mean, that is part of the job as a quarterback. Those numbers mean a lot to everybody around you. And the quarterback's so focused on wins because that's what they're judged by. But when you have a chance to make a guy $1 million, help a guy earn that $1 million incentive or that couple $100,000 incentive, you always have to have that on your radar.
Did you have incentives in your contract?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that I did, or if I think I hit whatever. They were always minimal in my contracts, and I think I always hit them.
Well, you were probably making too much money that they didn't give you incentives.
Yeah, I mean, there's a threshold. If you're league minimum, you have a bunch of incentives, but if you're above league minimum, you have hardly any incentives for the most part.
Did you care where you stacked up salary-wise when you played with other quarterbacks?
No, not so much. I ended up being drafted really high before the rookie wage scale. So at that time there was no cap on the rookie salary. And then I continuously signed big deals throughout my career. And, it wasn't a focus of mine or, I know a lot of guys, there's a respect level. They want to feel respected and want to feel they're being honored with their salary in comparison to other players in the league. Some guys that's a big deal for. And then I know other guys that are always underpaid, it seems, and don't really care. They're just happy at the opportunity to play and happy at the opportunity for the team to have more money to go out and pay the other guys around them. So I think it's a very it's to each his own kind of a deal. Some guys are very focused on it though.
What was that first paycheck like?
Well, my first paycheck, I was on the cover of college football, EA Sports college football.
No, I'm not talking about what you got paid at USC. I'm talking about your first paycheck with the Bengals.
I never got $1 at USC, Dan. You know that.
You got millions of dollars. I know, not just $1. Okay, so first paycheck with the Bengals.
First I got like a $20,000 paycheck for being on the cover of that video game.
Okay.
And then everything after that was so much money at the time that when $1 million came in, I was so focused on 25 or 30 grand, whatever it was. I bought myself my first laptop computer, which you couldn't tell me wasn't the coolest thing in the world at that time. But after
you really lived it up there, Carson. Some guys go to Vegas. You got a laptop. Wow. You're crazy.
What a nerd.
Did you buy mom and dad a laptop as well?
No, but I should have.
Did you ever go to the ATM and just check how much money you were making?
No, but I followed along on my internet enabled bank account that I was checking out on my laptop throughout my career, just to make sure the checks were coming in every week.
What do you buy? What's the best gift you ever bought your lineman?
I always really put a lot of time and energy and money into that because I really wanted to say thank you in a way. I did a bunch of great stuff. I bought guys hot tubs and had them installed at their houses one year. I bought them Segways one year, right when nobody knew really what a Segway was. Watches, Louis Vuitton travel luggage. I always went way above and beyond because then I wanted guys too. Because as soon as guys started playing well, we never re-signed them, especially when I was in Cincinnati. They went elsewhere, and so I wanted them going to other teams and being like, man, you got us a laptop. He got us a hot tub. So I wanted that spreading out through the league. And I wanted word out that I was buying good stuff for my offensive linemen so they'd come and block for me.
Do linemen buy the quarterback anything?
Actually, my 1 year, the best gift I've ever gotten, my linemen in Cincinnati went together. I loved to hunt, and they all knew I loved to hunt. And they bought me a red stag hunt. That was super cool. It was a guided hunt that I got to go on. And I actually have that red stag mounted up in my house. And that was by far the best gift I've ever got.
Great to talk to you again. Thank you, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Carson Palmer. He gives nice gifts. Brought to you by Level Select CBD.